You know, I've never done a vinyl shootout video before, but since I have multiple versions of the same LP at this moment, now seems like the perfect time to dive in. Will my conclusions be controversial among this album's fans? We'll see. I do very often conduct shootouts on my Instagram page, comparing modern reissues to original pressings when I have both. And in 90% of these comparisons, I much prefer the original copies because those recordings generally have more vigor with superior dynamics and energy. In this video, I'll be comparing 5 copies of the ubiquitous 1973 Pink Floyd album, The Dark Side of the Moon. And I personally own 3 of them. And a friend, Philippe, from the Jazz Bums YouTube channel, sent me 2 of his copies to check out. For the listening sessions, I used my secondary desk system, which features a few new components. And this setup includes an older Riga Planar 3 turntable with Tango spinner upgrades and a moving magnet Audio-Technica cartridge that was meticulously set up using the Wally Tools, Wally Skater, and Wally Tractor system. The phono preamp is an intriguing prototype model from Kitsune Hi-Fi, the LCR1 MM. You know, a few months ago I reviewed their KTE LCR1 Mark V phono preamp, and that's an outstanding $1,500 moving magnet and moving coil model. This unit is moving magnet only and is not currently available to purchase, but they're considering a production run, so they sent it to me to try. And I've had it for only a couple weeks, but early impressions are very favorable, and I'll be making a video about it in the future. The electronics on my desk include a vintage early 1990s Bryston preamp and a brand new Galeon TS A75 amplifier that's in for a review. The speakers are the trusty and extraordinary ProAC Response 2.5s. And a friend, for speaker cables, a friend recently sent me a pair of vintage Western Electric 16 gauge hookup wire that I've been using, and I'm very impressed with them. Comparing pressings can be an eye-opening experience. I think you know you can own a record for years and satisfied with how it sounds. You never compared it to any other pressings. Then one day you get a hold of another version and pow! The newly acquired copy blows away what you've been happily listening to. You weren't even aware there was something better. Anyway, let's get on with the shootout. First up, I have a 1973 US second pressing cut by Ken Perry. And I picked this one up in a parking lot from some guy who asked me if I wanted to buy some records. And it was very strange, but I ended up buying 11 decent albums from this guy for like $40, and this was one of them. And this pressing is the kind that millions of Americans bought 50 years ago. They put them on their old BSR turntables, lit up a joint, popped a can of beer, turned off the lights. Maybe they had an ultraviolet bulb that illuminated their psychedelic fluorescent wall posters, and they dug it and they enjoyed it. It's fine. It is enjoyable. But when I compare it to some of the others, it does lack some vibrancy and depth. But if it's all you have, be happy and enjoy. Second up, I have a later 1975 Jacksonville copy that I found at a local store a couple of years ago. It's got a nice clean cover, and it even has unused stickers and a poster inside. And it was cut by 2 guys, Gene Thompson and Maurice Long. And I do prefer this copy because it's punchier and richer sounding with an extended top end compared to the previous one. It's especially noticeable on the track Money, with the coins and the cymbals sounding clearer and not as buried in the mix. This copy has a lot of vitality and energy. Now, third up is a copy of the new 50th anniversary remastered reissue that came out in 2024. And it's the one on those 2 single-sided UV printed clear vinyl discs, cut by Bernie Grundman. Now don't ask me why I bought this one. I think I just got caught up in the hype. But I do like how quiet the vinyl is compared to my 1970s copies. It really sounds like a modern record with plenty of volume and clarity and detail, with the vocals and the keyboards pushed more towards the front. To my ears, Nick Mason's drums are a tad more subdued, but I can't really fault this version. And if this was my only copy, I think I could happily live with it. Now, I still prefer the 75 copy that I own. It has a bit more energy packed in the grooves in comparison. Now, on to the two that Philippe sent me. And the first one is considered by many as the definitive version, the Grail, the 1973 UK first press with the solid blue triangle on the label. And these can sell for a few hundred to thousands of dollars. And even this well-loved copy can still fetch a couple of hundred. I believe it was cut by Harry T. Moss at EMI Records in London. Now the first thing I noticed, this album is loud. It's like twice as loud as the previous three. I had to turn the volume down on the preamp because it was overwhelming. There is a significant emphasis that I heard on the vocals and the drums, especially the snare drum and the cymbals. David Gilmour's guitar was very present, with his solos searing my eardrums when I turned up the volume. There may be too much energy on this UKOG for me. I also found that it didn't quite have as much of the low frequency information as the other ones I was listening to. It's an interesting listen, but it's not my favorite version. I think I prefer a mellower copy. This one may be a little too edgy for me, I think. Lastly, Philippe sent me the 1997 UK, the EMI 100 Direct Metal Mastered Reissue cut by Doug Sachs at the Mastering Lab. I really like this one. It's louder as well, but it doesn't sound as strident as that UK first press. There's plenty of instrument separation, the bass is full, the high frequency and the mids are nicely balanced. It's very dynamic, and it just sounds right to me. How do I rank them? Which one is my go-to version if I owned all five? I have to say that 1997 UK EMI 100 was my favorite. Overall seemed to have everything I'm looking for. And that 75 US reissue, that later one, I think that's second. Third, I'm going for the 2024 UV 50th anniversary on the clear vinyl. And I'm going with the Grail at number 4, the UK first press. And bringing up the rear is that, second press US copy from 1973. While making this video, I've had it inside this plastic sleeve for a while, so the back's been covered up for quite a long time. I haven't really looked at the back cover in a few years. And while I'm making this video, I took it out, and this is the one with the posters and the sticker inside, right? And I turn it around, it's got a barcode. And I thought this was a 1975 reissue, but because it has this label on it, because that's the older label. But then I did a scan on Discogs of the barcode, and it came up as a 1983 reissue. That's actually very highly regarded. So I'm looking at the matrix on this, and I compared it to the 1983, and this is identical to the Jacksonville 1983. So I'm a little confused. It doesn't have the rainbow label, which I'll put up on the screen now. This is the 1975 label, but it's in a 1983 sleeve. I'm very confused. Anyway, it doesn't take away from the fact it's my favorite copy that I own. Anyway, if you know anything about this, hey, leave a comment. And you know, I don't need to tell you how often this album has been pressed and repressed around the world over the last 5 decades. I'm satisfied with what I currently own. I'm not looking for any more to try out any more copies. And I probably won't be listening to Dark Side of the Moon again for a few years. I'm full. I'm full of it. I'd like to thank Philippe for sending me his copies. I wouldn't have made this video without them. Well then, that's my first and perhaps only vinyl shootout video. Please leave a comment if you agree or disagree with my conclusions. Am I nuts? Let me know if you want to see more videos like this in the future. I make these videos to inform and entertain. If you were informed and entertained ever so slightly, please consider liking and subscribing to this channel. I also have a Patreon page and a PayPal tip jar if you feel so inclined to support me in this rather pricey endeavor. Thanks, and always, don't forget to enjoy your own devices. Bye.